All right, guys. We're live on LinkedIn and YouTube as well. So let's start with this session. First and foremost, good morning, everyone. Welcome all of you for joining us for this session and taking a time from your weekend to be with us for a morning brunch session of learning and growth. Excited to have you guys here. Uh, I would love to know where you guys are from. So maybe you can put down in your chat where you guys are from, what's your name, what you do, all that stuff. Would be really happy to interact with you guys. And yeah, of course, we have an amazing panelist here joining us who have taken their time to be with us here. Especially Praveen. It's early in the morning for him. He's from UK, London, and he's also joining us. That's amazing. So let's get started with the session. As you all know, the session is it's hosted and powered by Rebase by Recro, which is our community. We are having around 3,000 plus developers right now in our community, which is growing literally every day. So yeah, excited to have you guys here. So I'll just share my screen before we get started. I'll just give you a small brief on, Rebase as a community and what we do and introduce our amazing panel along with that. And then after that, we can start with the session, right? So just give me a minute. All right, is my screen visible?
Yeah.
All right, great. So today's panel discussion is going to be about tech trends in 2024. We are going to get a lot of insights from the trends and tech which we are having recently, and how you can implement these new trends and tech in your career to propel your career and move forward, and be a little outstanding from your fellow developers, right? And we have here joining us Pawan, Praveen, and Abhimitra. Okay. So as I mentioned before, this session is hosted by Rebase by Recro. We are essentially a developers community who is very active on Discord, and we have around 3,000 members in our community. Being a part of our community has a lot of benefits. One of them being that we have a pool of amazing mentors joining us who are from Google, Microsoft. For instance, Praveen here is itself one of our mentors who have been a really valuable asset for our community, where he takes his free time, and along with the other mentors, we do have mentorship sessions where we give very tailored and catered mentorship sessions for in job, career, interview preparation, all system design, so on and so forth, like that. So they have been very active in the community, helping the community members grow, and we are very lucky to have them. Along with that, we do have a lot of offline meetups happening throughout the month in different parts of the cities. We had last month in Jaipur and Bangalore. This month we are going to have again one more in Bangalore, and I guess in Indore as well towards the end of the month, which we are really looking forward to. So this offline meetup have been a platform where you can get to connect with fellow developers who are in your city and build your networking session. So that has been a really helpful thing for the community members, and also we keep it open for other developers also who was in the cities to join in as well and get a taste of being a part of the Rebase community, which is really exciting. Apart from that, also we have a lot of other things we do in the community. One of them being these of webinars itself, which we try to provide free for you guys to learn and grow. Even we have a lot of active members in our community where they are always there to help each other out. You have any questions or anything, you can just post it, and then our community members would be there to help you guys out. And also we do have a lot of job postings there as well, which is something which I am pretty sure a lot of developers in this day and age are looking forward to, right? So coming to today's panelist, which we have here, we have first Praveen here, who is a full stack Java developer, having more than 12 plus years experience. He have worked with brands such as Microsoft, Accenture, and so on, a lot more. I'm pretty sure. I was going through his, experience list, and there were so many I could not pick point which to take like that. But then, yeah, he's also, as I mentioned, he's a rebasement. Also, he's a blogger, author. He's active on YouTube. Essentially one thing which I found interesting about Praveen is that he tries to bring in high tech knowledge and resources for all the developers to grow, and with the insight of even providing a platform for growth for female developers, essentially from South India, which I thought is really good. I'll be sharing his profile LinkedIn profile on the chat. So after this session, maybe you can connect, and he'll be happy to help you out. Next, coming to Abhimitra. He is also an amazing panelist, which we have here, having over 10 plus years of experience. He is currently working with PayPal and also has worked with a lot of other brands as well. He is experienced in distributed systems, also leadership. He has good team leadership skills, and as well as he focuses on system performance as well as mentoring engineers as well. I'll be sharing his profile also. You can connect with him and get some insights from him as well. Then we have Pawan here joining us. Pawan, so I know there was a bit misunderstanding with the timing, but so glad to have you here as well. He's also having 15 plus years of experience. He's currently working with bookings.com and has worked with other brands such as SAP as well. He's also a founder of SAP.io, which is a startup within the SAP startup ecosystem as well. I'll be sharing his LinkedIn profile as well. So yeah, really excited for this session. These panelists are having a wealth of knowledge and experience, and I'm pretty sure you guys would be able to learn and grow more from this session. So really looking forward to it. Uh, so you guys can go forward and introduce yourself. Yeah. So yeah, maybe you guys can introduce, and then afterwards I'll be giving a few more announcements before we start with the session, and then we can go ahead and dive into the session.
That was amazing. Thank you, Candida. That was a great introduction for all of us. And we should start probably with one of them. So Kartikeya and Pawan, go ahead. Start your introductions and I'll start name.
I'll go. I'm Kartikeya. I'm currently an engineering manager with PayPal. Thanks for the great intro, Candida. This is a job well done. So like she mentioned, I have 10 plus years of experience so far in the industry. And my major focus has been into full stack. I've worked with building public facing websites with millions of hits per day to very scalable backend systems that has a huge QPS as well. So my major focus has been into performance and fine tuning of system to increase their scalability and QPS throughput. So that's about me.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, I think it was a wonderful introduction. So either myself, Pawan, so I have around a decade of experience, mainly in the SAP ecosystem. So I started almost 12 years back in IBM, and then I followed into HP. So basically in SAP, I got a chance to build a company also within, it's called Navipal, which is mainly on SAP IoT and HCP, right? So I think it was more closer towards the IoT aspect of it. Yeah, a bit about myself is I've pretty much touched upon most of the SAP technologies and also the backend, front end, mainly towards SAP. In the ERP world mainly, and currently the engineering manager heading towards do two teams both in Amsterdam and in Bangalore. Yeah, I think that's a bit about myself. Maybe we can discuss further on what are the different aspects we can cover today. Thank you.
So great discussions, great introductions. Hey everyone, my name is Praveen. I'm originally from Chennai, India, currently living and working in London as a director of engineering for a Fortune 50 company, which I don't want to name at this point. And I would say in one liner, my wife is JavaScript, my girlfriend is React.js. So I work with JavaScript and React.js predominantly, and I have also contributed to the React.js ecosystem. And that was one of the best things that I have done so far. I've got around like 15 plus years of experience at this point, and with all these things, I really love to teach people, get the best high quality tech knowledge to everyone as easy as possible, as free as possible. I'm one person who would like to have the education system to be free for everyone. So this is my vision and thoughts, and that's the reason I have been like active in all the talks, and connect with me on LinkedIn to find out what all things that I have been going around, like connect with all the panel members as well, and all their details will be available soon. And great. So what are we going to do today? The first thing is, like when I was talking to Pawan and Kartikeya yesterday, they were thinking like, okay, see, A is getting so improved and advanced, and they were also not sure whether this person is actually a real person talking here, or is it just an AI bot. So considering all these things, we are in such a position that we are kind of like a bit scared, like how AI is impacting software developers, all the different things. Like, for example, see, basically the food industry should not be affected by AI because we are we are mainly here for earning and finally filling our tummy. But at the same time, there are like so many trends that are going on. So how AI and machine learning are shaping the software development in 2024? Let's see the current trends. Then there are so many emerging technologies like exploring the cloud computing, blockchain, new frameworks in the AI context, etc. And when all these things you do, you have the biggest concern in your day-to-day life. It is the security and collaboration. So addressing the cybersecurity challenges and teamwork in the AI projects, this is one of the crucial things that we will discuss. And once we get all these things done, how do you scale it to all the other people? It works in your system, that's great. What about others? So that is the next thing that we will be discussing, common mistakes and strategies for scaling AI related projects. Then career advice, who is here to get a job. So offering guidance for junior developers and exploring the importance of staying updated with industry trends. And finally, we will open up the stage for question and answer, and let's see how the panelists respond, including myself, and we'll finish it off with that. So in starting, so I would like to start with some amazing question. So Pawan and Kartikeya, how do you see AI and machine learning impacting the software development in 2024?
Yeah, maybe I can start first. So basically, AI used to be always a buzzword. I think 5-6 years back when I was initially getting into the SAP world, and I was also getting into this startup. So when I started my small startup within that ecosystem of SAP, where it's called as SAP IO, we were using something called as SAP Conversational AI, right? So that was more towards chatbots, trying to get some munch some data into it, trying to figure out what exactly it meant and how do you kind of extract some inference out of it, right? That's how it all started. But I think from there to today, where we're talking about LLP, NLPs, things like that, I think we have come a long way. Definitely, it's going to make a big difference to our community of engineers and also how we see this whole IT ecosystem, right? Definitely, yes. But I think it's definitely on a right path. And it's all about how you kind of envision this, right? It also can be used as something which can help us save our time. And also we focus on the important stuff to actually get our things done, right? So I think AI is definitely someone who is going to help all the engineers to actually focus on the important stuff. But if at all we are focusing on whether it's going to impact us from what we can actually deliver, We have a long time to go there, right? So we are still getting started. We still have a long way as a route map.
There used to be a saying like, will AI take over our jobs? Basically, no. All the freshers out there who is actually afraid of that sentence, I would say a person who is using AI will take over 50 people's jobs. So make sure you use AI. So what is your idea about this, Kartikeya?
So, adding on what you both said, right? This is such an exciting time in the field of AI and ML, and the productivity has been skyrocketing, right? There have been a lot of tools, Code Duet, Code Whisperer, that people have been employing on a day-to-day basis. I think that's the sweet spot. Use these tools to increase your productivity, and like Pawan mentioned, then focus on the harder business problems, right? AML is a solution space. We need to employ more of this. I think the one problem that we all have to solve going forward is to identify more and more problem statements that can be solved using AML. I think that's what more of the engineering would be focused on. So definitely, it's definitely going to be a lot more helpful. And like you said, yeah, it's about not losing the jobs to AI. It's about evolving to a different job descriptions, right? Like for example, prompt engineering was not existing a couple of years ago. Now there have been a lot of courses all over the internet about prompt engineering. That's how AI is going to evolve. There has been fine tuning, lot of different inference, a lot more jobs will come. That's a normal evolution in tech industry. So
I believe it is the same thing with when calculators were invented and everyone went like, okay, mathematics people, you are dead. Something like that. But now it's like more than calculators and it goes crazy on it. That's a great
yeah.
start. Okay, so we spoke about AI, which is really great and it is impacting a lot of people at this point. What about the other thing? So I mean, it could be my personal thing because I have a degree in cloud computing. So what role will cloud computing play in the future of tech development and how can developers leverage it to their advantage?
Okay, so I think cloud computing, I'm more closer to this area because I'm kind of building an infrastructure end-to-end for bookings.com right now. And yeah, I think we are scaling up in a very fast manner, right? So basically, cloud computing is going to be the base for any AI developments going forward, right? So I think we have to optimize there. We have not got yet into that mode where we are ready for AI yet, right? We are still in IBM mainframes in some of the companies, to be honest. In some of the old customers, they're still running that. They feel comfortable even there. So even though it all looks like a buzzword and we have come a long way, but that's not the fact, right? So we still have a long way just to understand and also kind of scale up our existing tech stack from the cloud computing standpoint, and then look at AI full-fledged, right? So I think cloud computing is going to be the foundation for the upcoming trends of AI or ML or anything like that. So yeah, that's a bit of 2 cents on me on that.
I would say
Karthik.
probably cloud computing is needed for every single thing. Even I'm a web developer, even for a front-end development to host a website, that's the same thing, right? What do you think, Kartikeya?
Yeah, so it's actually making a lot more ripples in industry because now it's very easy for someone to build out an idea and create a prototype, right? You don't have to build database from scratch. You don't have to build a lot of things from scratch. There is Redis Atlas. You just have to connect to this MongoDB Atlas, sorry, and you just have to connect to this different cloud solutions and just give out the prototype to the people. So that is one biggest advantage of cloud engineering, right? And I see more and more adoption going towards it.
Probably, okay. I guess you are a bit lagged. What I would say
Yeah.
is, dude, we have Kubernetes. You don't need any of these now. Like, just press one single button, the entire stack is ready, right?
Right. We have low code and no code solutions completely running on.
Exactly.
So
So
One example. Go ahead, sorry.
it is revolutionizing the way even developers work. I mean, a person like me who's extremely lazy just needs to type 2 or 3 commands and the complete website stack is up and running. I mean, the server stack, I mean, the infrastructure stack. Go ahead, Pawan.
See, just to add to that, right? So we had something called in SAP, right? Because I'm more closer to that world. In SAP, around 5, 6 years back, we had something called as cloud application libraries, right? CALs. What it used to do is it used to just single button. It used to build the entire stack, right? End to end, including the application layer installed, right? KVM is something we're still on the lower level, but I'm talking about SAP being installed, ready to run your applications, right? Whether it is Cloud Neo, Cloud Foundry, you name it, you can just quickly plug in. So 5 years back, that was the status. Imagine now where we are, right? Of course, what you mentioned, Praveen, is about KVMs, right? So KVMs are there, and also the way we have advanced in the containerization field also, right? The Dockers, the Rockets, you name it, it was there almost 5-6 years back. But I think we have gone way beyond that, and now we are able to spin off the systems within few minutes, right? And not something we're talking about in GBs, we're talking in zettabytes and terabytes. So I think we have come a far way, but I think it's also we need to optimize on the costing. That's something which will have to be kind of worked on. I think with more advancement in the hardware engineering, I think that will also be taken care. But once that is done, the AI will take up definitely a different roadmap going forward for sure.
So more than talking about cloud computing, I would say this is another era for DevOps engineers. So those people who are looking to gain up some skills and get a good job, DevOps is one of the key things that are being sought after. So become a DevOps engineer. Okay, cool. So we talked about cloud computing, we talked about AI, etc. But there is also another trending thing. Can you guess what? Something that guarantees what it is, because when I started with, we don't know whether this person is an AI generated person or a real person. So something to validate stuff. Guess what? Blockchain. So there are some amazing like how do you foresee this blockchain technology evolving in the next few years, and what opportunities will it bring for developers?
I'll go for this part.
Sure.
So now I think there has been a hype for blockchain and cryptocurrency, and then it died down for a while. I think right now it is taking off because there have been more and more utilities that are being solved, right? I see a lot of more applications coming in. Identity, Sam Altman is building a blockchain-based identity platform for the world. There has been about real estate. There has been a lot more domains that were to be only solved with using blockchain. We wanted that kind of proof of authenticity, and there are more and more domains that are yet to be solved, right? I think that's where I see the blockchain and the cryptocurrency technologies as, where it is just getting started and we have nowhere seen the power of them yet.
No, I think
Go on,
go ahead. Praveen.
Go on, Pawan.
No, I think I agree with what Karthikeya just mentioned, right? But I think blockchain, even though it is something which is still a buzzword and still it's new in the market, right? And there are a lot of applications, like especially if you just go to the WazirX app and you see so many cryptocurrencies there, it's itself is a validation that how much of technology it has already been involved, and how many companies are actually spinning off day by day, right? That can actually validate your thought process about blockchain itself. But I think it's also important that how do we kind of bring it to the mainstream and let the companies and also the countries accept how authentic it is and how it's actually going to be a big game changer going forward, right? I think that is something which is still ongoing. But I think with more tech stack to be added in this particular area, I think that will definitely solve the issues. But I think from a cybersecurity perspective, that's something which is definitely going to be a game changer for everyone. Right. But I think the awareness is not there yet on the blockchain. So that's the reason why it's not taking up and, it's going to the next level. But I think it's just a matter of time that we're going to get there.
I know that I have been like a bit laid off on these things, but I'm also scared. So what are some emerging programming languages or frameworks that developers use should be learning to stay ahead of the curve? What do you think?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll get to the programming languages or the frameworks that needs to be picked. But before that, I would want to mention about learning the core foundation of computer science. I think that is the most important thing to start with for any engineer starting out, or for even engineers with certain experience under their belt. There have been a lot of computer science problems that are yet to be solved or have been proved to be unsolvable. right? We can wiki for NP complete problems in computer science. It throws out 50, 60 problems, right? For example, any graph database, like say Facebook, LinkedIn, anything, right? There is no optimal solution today on how to best store the graph vertices and edges across the graph. So there are several such problems, and to solve them, what is important is how systems work from the scratch. And that skill, if you can pick it up, that's going to help you for a very, very long time, even when programming languages change, frameworks change, right? So even on the front end, let's take, right? Front end is something that evolves so rapidly. Every single day, something new comes up. But what actually stays is how a certain piece of code is being executed by the browser. That's not going to change, right? That's where the optimizations are. Rest everything is an abstraction or a wrapper over that. So that's what I think we should start with focusing on. Learn about, say, for example, if you're a web developer, start with what is a critical rendering path. If you're a backend developer, think about how a code is being executed, how a language is being compiled, and how it is optimized to run. Start with that. And coming to the languages and the frameworks, right? I think my top 3 pick today, if I have to pick for the languages, it would be JavaScript. Sorry, no, I'm going there. So JavaScript for the universality of it, and then comes the Python because of the community that's been invested from an AML field. There is no beating it. And the third is a tie for me between Golang and Rust. Golang is something that's been occupying a lot of market lately. All the latest databases and libraries are written in Golang. It has a lot better performance uh, for memory optimization techniques. And then the latest competitor, right? The latest star in the market is Rust. There's been a lot more community adoption on Rust. So that is something to watch out for. And maybe I think more and more opportunities will open up in Rust, and that's where to go.
So, what do you think
No.
about this, Pawan?
No, I think I totally agree with Karthikeya on the tech stack, right? From the software development languages, definitely Rust, JavaScript, definitely the core, right? But when you talk about blockchain, right, I generally have at least 5, 6 layers which I look into it, right? First of all, you need to start with the networks, right? So if you don't understand the networks, if you're just a developer, then you don't really able to connect the dots. So you start with networks, understand how the nodes work, APIs, and then comes the Web3, Web2 developments, right? And then finally, the most buzzword, which is actually kind of taking over the market, is decentralized application. That's called dApps. I don't know if you've come across it. So dApps are something which is really the hot right now, and people need to understand how do we actually plug to that and understand how do we build that across. So that is going to scale up the whole blockchain community going forward. And whatever Karthikeya just mentioned, I think that is the basic to get started for sure.
I have always told all the newbies to start with web development because it has got so much potential, and also it is easy for, I mean, personally, it was easy for me to start with. And in case if you are really, really interested and really efficient to go for anything more challenging, then go for Python. And even though I am a JavaScript lover, I will still say Python is number 1 and JavaScript is number 2. I don't know when things will change, but this is the current scenario from my end. But there is also another fear of mine. So, the fear of security. How do you see the role of cybersecurity evolving in tech development? And what steps should developers take to prioritize security in their projects? This seems to be one of the most very basic question. At the same time, a lot of things can go wrong. Does anyone want to start with?
Okay, I can get started on that, right? So I'm actually looking at some of the release management topics and also some of the areas for cybersecurity across my teams, right? And in that first thing which comes to my mind is that, okay, you develop something. Do you have the mindset of what exactly happens when you put this across in the web development arena? Let's say that it goes live, then what happens? How are you securing your data? Have you ever thought about that, right? So that's something which that mindset has to be brought in. And that's where there is something called as the new methodologies coming in of shift left methodologies, where you say that, okay, this is also a testing methodology, but I think it's a mindset where people start thinking about the security aspect of it, the cyber security aspect of it. So the moment they develop something, they need to understand how am I connecting this to the security aspect of it and ensure that this is safe, right? So they need to actually map it in their mind end to end. For that, they need to be more aware of the security aspect, the technologies, how is it working, the SSOs, all the stuff, right? So they need to understand that first, and then before actually releasing whatever we are developed, so that they have a clear understanding that how is it's going to flow end of the day. Yeah, over to Karthikeya.
I think Pawan covered all the points that needs to be mentioned in this area. I think the mindset that Pawan was also mentioning about the attacker mindset, right? When you build out something, take a shift in the role, go from the other side, and how can you crack that particular API or software to do something that it is not intended to do? I think that is a very hard one to practice and master, but that is again some skill that's in absolutely high demand. And we are only moving to, yeah, sorry, Pawan, you're saying.
Go ahead. Sorry, I'll add
Yeah,
after
so
that.
we are only adopting more and more cloud technologies, right? These are very interrelated. We are more and more moving towards that kind of model where there is a lot more vulnerable endpoints now. There are a lot more vulnerable websites, other different systems that's being built, right? So it's all important about understanding. Say, for example, there is a list called OWASP that publishes top 10 security vulnerabilities every year. I think it's a very good point, very good starting point to go to the website, understand what those attacks are, how a person can craft those attacks, and how is your system solving it. I think that's a very good start to understand cybersecurity and then build up from there.
Pawan, you are saying something.
No, I think just to add to that, right? So cybersecurity is such a key element, right? So first of all, you need to be, so that's what I tell to one of my teams, right? Who is more focused towards security aspect. So there is something called as ethical hacking, right? So I think people need to have that awareness of what is ethical hacking, how do they do that, and what are the different technologies involved in it, right? And what are the different tools they can use. So if at all they can get a mindset of an ethical hacker, right? And also when you're developing something, I think it is going to be a game changer, and it is going to put a lot of less stress to the people who are actually doing the cybersecurity aspect of it.
So I could say like only a locksmith can make sure the locks are really genuine. But at the same time, thinking somewhere high from a different perspective, why don't we implement only certain whitelisted actions that is possible and blacklist everything else? I would go in that method if I really want to go in like a beast mode, because I know that there are n number of ways things can be tarnished with, and people think out of box to get into some kind of a stuff. But what if we whitelist things that people can do so they can't do anything else? I mean, it is extremely difficult in terms of, like, let's say if you take a language like HTML or JavaScript, it is not something that can be used for any particular thing, but it is extremely generic. So when I was looking at a lot of memes, if you take Java, it is represented by a daemon. Sorry, Java folks. If you take JavaScript, it is represented by something really, really cool. And if you take HTML, it is represented like a flower pot. So basically, all these things are tools to build something really amazing, while HTML can do like literally everything. Similar with JavaScript as well. JavaScript is there now in all the 3 or maybe 4 areas, like, for example, the front end, middleware, back end, database, even in weekends. So it's a friend, literally. So thinking about all these things, I guess a whitelisted way could be possibly a better idea, in my personal opinion.
No, just to
Cool.
add to that, Praveen. So, sorry, Karthika, you want to go?
Go on, go on.
No, go ahead.
Okay. See, first of all, okay, whitelisting is definitely one of the options, right? But see, I'll tell you a real-time example, right? So we did a digital transformation last year of one of the fintech, right? And there was an intrusion where we were about to go live, and we came to know that there was some intrusion, and there was someone tried to hack, and we came to know that it was kind of an insider intrusion, right? It's not about someone coming in from outside Wi-Fi connection to inside our company, but someone who is inside was trying to get some data out of it, right? So when you say something like this, it may or may not mean that it's the employee, or it's just that someone has got access to the Wi-Fi of a building itself, right? Imagine if something happens like that when you are not an internet, but an intranet, right? Then it's a different ballgame. And we need to also be mindful that how are you going to safeguard our system? And even if you say that I've whitelisted 1 lakh IPs, but what happens later point in time when you find out that the person is from inside itself and he got access to this. So I think we had to really work day in, day out to kind of fix that issue, right? We had to put some blockers, understand how the IP is flowing, bring in some tool immediately, and kind of had to fix that. So we need to be mindful that, we want to become a community where it's more open for sure, but also cybersecurity would be the foundation for it.
I'm not sure if you have heard of this Tamil saying, well, it says Vallavanukku Vallavan undu, which is almost like for every demon, there is another demon. So basically, it is just we are adding extra layers of protection, nothing else. Anything that can be created will be destroyed at one point of time. Anything that is secured will at one point of time, it will be unsecure, which will be deemed unsecure or something like that. So considering all these things, yes, it is it is kind of like we are going to keep on adding more and more layers to prevent the quick like quick compromise. Whatever the compromise that is going to happen, it is going to happen eventually, but we are just delaying the time. And by the time when it is meant to happen, probably we might go offline or we might change the complete strategy. So these are a couple of strategies. So there is nothing called as you can protect everything. Like literally there is no guarantee for anything literally. So that's indeed kind of a scary thing. But at the same time, there are like so many things that are happening in and around our world, right? So how important is it for the developers to stay updated with the latest industry trends? What are some effective ways to do so? What's your ideas?
You want to start, Karthika?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think this is something I'm sure I can speak for Praveen and Pavan as well. The question that we most often receive from everyone in the company and around, right? How do we keep ourselves updated? So again, why do we need to update? I think it's obvious to most of us, but anyway, I'm gonna cover that. We are in a very specialized field of software engineering where things are changing so rapidly, like I just mentioned, right? There are new and new things coming up, new research happening. Like it's been around 1.5 years since GPT got released, and today we have see how many number of AI tools that have come, how many number of research papers being published. So it is very important or significant for all of us to stay in loop on what's happening, how the industry trends are changing, right? I think that's the essence of this talk as well, on how the technologies are going to evolve and how are they going to affect our opportunities, and what can we do to make ourselves immune to those changes, right? And how can we stay updated? I think that's a very personalized journey for each one. Pick on what works for you. So I can only speak of what works for me and some of the things I have done over last 5-6 years, right? So it's not one source. There are different sources that I rely on. It might be LinkedIn, Twitter, Reddit, Substack, Quora. There are a lot of things, but what's key is the way you have to moderate your feeds. It's very easy to get lost in this infinite social media streams, right? So what I do is I have a specialized Twitter feed where I put a lot of effort into moderate the kind of news that I want to see. Say I'm into a lot of full stack development. Say I want a new Node.js version was released. I want to know that on top of everything else. I don't want to know about entertainment news or something. So that is how I curate my list. You need to figure out what works for you. Some of you might prefer videos. Then figure out, I know one of my colleagues who had a separate YouTube profile that he watches only the tech content and make sure he does not watch anything else to not ruin the algorithm, right? That's a good thing. And I also read a lot of books. So I also put a lot of efforts into reading the latest books. I get the suggestions from O'Reilly. I reach out to people on LinkedIn. I reach out to leaders saying, okay, can you suggest me some books? And I think that's one more thing is never hesitate to seek help. There are a lot of awesome people on the internet who are willing to help. If you're stuck with something, if you're needing for some information, yeah, there's Praveen for you. So just reach out, ask for resources. It's okay to ask help and get that. So summary is pick what works for you, but go hard at it.
One thing I wanted to add to it is like whatever you said is like completely acceptable and sometimes it is scary. The evolution of GPT. back in those days, like, have you seen this World Smith's noodles eating thing? Within like 1 year, less than a year, it has become so amazing. Even though the second video is faked by Will Smith himself. But looking at, we have heard of these things: Fermi paradox, Kardashev scale, etc., etc. I'm not talking about all these dark things, but Murphy's law is something very common that we generally look at, and there is this particular law where whichever queue that you're going to go, it is going to go slow or something like that. With all these scales, people were expecting that whatever the evolution of ChatGPT today will be happening in 2045, but it happened in 2024, which is super crazy. And to be honest, I go with a lot of things like, TLDR, dev.to, daily.dev, Fireship has got this amazing thing called code report. So they keep telling like every week or every month, although that person has not been consistent due to their personal issues, but they have been one of the excellent resources for me. Back in those days, I used to extremely contribute to Stack Overflow answers, answering a lot of questions and learning what is happening in and around my things. Like, for example, I'm good with JavaScript. JavaScript is what I always work with. What other people are working on, how do I help them? So if I help one person, there are three things that could happen. Number one, the person is thankful and they will get a good image of mine to them. Second thing is, oh wow, these people are like giving me new challenges. I will be able to use my brain to like try doing something new, and then I'll get to learn things. And tomorrow when I'm asked the same question in the office or in my workplace where I need to answer it quick, the cache memory will help me out in that case. And another thing is like, okay, one answer, this is a problem where there could be infinitely number of solutions, and my solution is this, my thought process is this. There could be Pawan or there could be Kartikeya sending another answer in the same question. Oh wow, you can even think this way, this is nice. Let me rethink about my thought process and see what exactly I can do in a different way. So what do you think about these things, Pawan?
No, I think I first of all agree with what Kartikeya just mentioned, right? It's definitely what are the sources you have to first of all curate it, right? You need to kind of channelize what you're getting inside your thoughts. That's more important, right? And from where you have to funnel it out. That's the first point. But I think how do I see it is that first build a strong foundation. Okay. Whether it is full stack development or the front end, back end, whatever it is, build a strong foundation. Once you have a strong foundation and good understanding, whatever new topic comes in the market, right? It's only about just updating it, right? So you don't have to rebuild, reinvent everything out there. It's a very small effort for you to kind of just add it on as a topping, a silver line to that, rather than going through each and everything. That's one thing. But if at all there is a kind of a technology which is being changed, immediately try to understand, deep dive, finish it like from the bottoms, right? So you understand end to end, and that's when you will be able to again connect the newer trends into it. That's one thing. And secondly, whenever you learn something, right, try to apply it in the real world, right? That is most important. That way you'll not only be learning what you just got to know, but also trying to understand the other stuff which is going to connect tomorrow, and only then it's going to make sense for you, right? So it's also about where is the use case, and also what problem is it solving. Is it really going to add value today or tomorrow, or it's, let's say, in 10 years down the line? So where exactly this particular technology is going to fit in the tech stack, and how is it going to make a big difference? So if you understand the overall picture of it, I think it's easier for you to connect the dots, and whatever the new technology is, irrespective of tech stack you are currently in, I think you will be able to figure out and also understand how exactly it's going to work in future very easily, rather than just getting the news about it and leaving there on that day itself.
Something that I would like to actually add to whatever you said, Pawan, I started thinking in React. Literally, any problem that I get into, whether it is like a problem with the recipe that I do, or how do I manage my everyday food related stuff, etc., I started thinking in React. So that's something that I usually do, which is exactly what you said in the beautiful way. And one more thing that I wanted to say with respect to my lovable language, JavaScript. There is this another Tamil saying says "Matram ondre maaradadu," which means change is the only constant, and JavaScript is going literally on top of it in like the beast mode, I would say. So today, let's say I completed learning the every single damn thing about React 18, and then I come to the office saying like, "Hey, just ask me anything related to React 18, dude. React 19 just got released. Everything you learned is gone. I mean, not gone, but that is the speed at which people are developing and adding functionalities, and there are like a lot of good things that's happening, but at the same time, at what cost? We have to run like just how what three idiots initial thing comes, and like run. The whole world is a competitive world. If you don't run, you will be like the pigeon eggs, dove eggs, not the coil eggs, be the coil eggs or something like that, which is indeed it's a dark thing, but at the same time probably that is the reality, which comes to the talk about the mistakes. So what are some common mistakes that developers make when scaling the tech projects, and how can they avoid them? What do you think? We were talking about the cloud and other things, now scalability, and even there is like, yes, label team who are working on something really cool, and there are like so many people who are working on amazing applications. Scaling is one of the crucial factors. Whoever wants to start it, go ahead.
I think
Pawan, do you want to take it?
you want to take it, you can take it.
Yeah. So the way I see it, right, I see two different perceptions to when I talk of scaling a project, right? There is a tech scaling, there is also a business scaling. And when you talk of it, there are two real problems. One is underscaling and overscaling as well, right? Let me talk on a very high level on how they are going to affect. So what I would suggest to an engineer who wants to learn about scaling a project, right, is to start understanding the business domain and the problem they are solving, and how is this particular piece of code is solving it. Start with. So sometimes we want to scale our project, but does really business requires it at that point? So for example, we were building a certain system. We want to build around currencies, right? You don't have to build it for 1 million currencies. That's never going to happen. I know in crypto we can. I'm talking of fiat. So you definitely have no need to build for 1 million currencies. You don't need that level of skill. You can actually do much better performance with a different set of choices that you take with respect to technology or libraries or your approach to the low level coding that you do. Right. So that is why it is important to understand the business requirements on and how efficiently are you solving it. And another principle I try to follow and advocate is the requirements keep changing. You want to evolve your code base. And one principle I follow is whenever the new requirement is 10x of the current scale, your effort should not be 10x. And that is a principle I follow when I start my system design and start coding on. If tomorrow this is going to change, say the volume or traffic is going to do 10x, I should not put the same scale of efforts. So that is one guiding principle I follow, and that usually
Sorry,
works.
it's a bit okay. It's a bit confusing for me. So for making an expectation of 10x, how much x you need to put?
Right. So it should definitely not be 10x. Right. Ideally about a fraction of it. It depends on project to project, right?
So less than 10x, and you need to get more than 10x, something like
Ideally
that.
less than 10x, definitely not more than 10x.
Okay, got it.
So
Understood.
the exact fraction of it, again, it depends use case. So I'm not going there. Right. So like I was telling you, you wanted
wanna-
to feel, yeah.
Do you want to give an example and explain it? That would make it much easier.
Right. So let's take a simple example on, okay, let's take the label team, right? I'm guessing you have integrations with a bunch of label makers. Now you are building out a system. You have built integrations with 3 of them, and you have a certain piece of system in place. Now you want to go global and you want to integrate with 300 label makers. And say, for example, you started with a single configuration file for each of the label makers initially. Now that route, when you want to integrate with 300, you will end up creating 300 different files, and an effort is constant for each of those files. So that is one approach where you can keep in mind on maybe you want to make it more configuration driven. I'm just giving a specific example out of fly here. And how can you make a common configuration that say probably common for 290 of them, and how can you override the rest of them? So those kind of business needs are more important when you want to scale up a project, and also the choice of technology here. I don't, am I, is some, okay, good. So I thought my video broke. So
Okay.
anyway, I want to pass the baton to Pawan and hear his thoughts.
Sure. Thank you, Karthikeya. I think that was good thought process, right? So definitely I agree with you what you're saying, right? The use case may be different, but definitely what you're saying is right. But first of all, I want to put a foundation to this topic, right? The foundation would be that we as engineers always think, how are we going to build it, right? But never give a thought that why are we building this, right? So I think the mindset has to change from how to why. The moment you ask, why am I building this? What am I going to achieve by this? Where is this particular code I'm building going to fit in the large goal or the vision of this company? If you ask these questions, you will already know that what you need to build, right? And if someone is giving you a code base or some requirement where you don't have to a scale, or you just have a smaller thing to be kind of added up to there, then you can definitely ask this question, that what is it going to serve as a purpose, right? So I think if you have that mindset of why, the moment you start anything, that is going to solve the majority of the problem. That's one aspect. Second aspect is that you also need to understand that how you can reduce the hard coding and increase the variable standpoint of it, right? So you should always have variables where tomorrow, if at all you want to scale it up, right, you just have to call in some few APIs and you just have to connect it so that you can scale it up to the next level. So you don't have to do hard coding so that you have to repeat yourself every time you want to scale it up. So this is the second point which I want to add. And the third aspect is try to understand that how is this technology going to evolve for next 5 years? Of course, you can't predict it, but what are the already emerging technologies which I can connect right now, which is going to make sense for me to scale up by the time this particular topic or the product is completed, and I want to scale up from there. So these are the top three areas which I want to kind of focus whenever I'm starting something, and which is going to add value going forward.
Okay. So collaboration across multiple disciplines is key to successful AI projects and other projects as well. So let's talk about something that discusses the strategies for effective teamwork and communication. So how can developers effectively collaborate with other teams, such as design or product management, to ensure successful project scaling?
Okay, I think probably I can start, right? So I think first of all, what I did, at least in whether it is SAP or what we do over here, is that we have different guilds which is created, and for whether it is for engineering, for product development, or for whether it is program management, we have different guilds created, right? So I think we should start first of all getting into those different guilds already created, and start focusing on what is that you want to get into next 5 years, right? And also be as much as possible cross-functional, right? So it's not just about being an engineer and doing the how part of it, but you need to also understand why am I doing this, just like what I just said, and how you can connect the dots about what is that you're trying to bring in as a value with your code, right? How exactly it's kind of reciprocating in other areas, and what is a value at end of the day. So I think these are the key areas which you need to kind of focus on, and that's how you can start networking and start talking to the different areas within your department, which can actually add a lot of insight to it when you're actually developing it itself, right? So coming back to your question, how do you do this? The collaboration is all about the mindset, right? That why am I doing this? What is that I'm going to achieve by this? What are the areas which I'm going to focus on? Which are the people I need to talk to? If at all you have all these questions answered, I think this is going to bring in a lot of collaboration by itself. Instead of the employer kind of pushing you for collaboration, you yourself will take that initiative.
Yeah.
What is your, I mean, I know that this is a long topic, and considering the time, Karthikeya, tell it in one single line.
Right. So I'll add to what Pawan said, right? So what we need to identify is that whatever the different stakeholders we have, product, design, policy, right? We are all wanting solving one problem. I think that's very important to keep track of. We are all bringing different types of solutions for the same problem. So that's why it's very important to have that collaboration. So sync up with them, try to understand their perception on what we need to do for this project. How are they going to measure the success of a certain project, right? It's going to be different for engineering and product and different stakeholders. So communicate with them, tell about what you're thinking, your thoughts on how this project is going forward, how are you going to track the success for it, understand their side of things, right? And try to collaborate together. So that usually helps. On end goal is to solve a pain point and build out a solution to the world, and whatever it takes with respect to collaboration. So that we need to identify and just realize that we are all one team working in different functional groups to solve it. So yeah, I'm going to stop there and we'll take more questions.
Amazing. So there is a question from Label team. So what about a technology that we build, say an app? Is it possible to drastically change the app in 5 years? For instance, modeling the app based on the user's needs in real time, meaning having to modify, maybe erasing, adding functions. Bro, change is the only constant. As I mentioned, it has to be agile. That is my view. And you both, whatever you want to say.
So I'll give a small example of a website called Levels FII, right? There's a famous app with millions of hits per day, and their backend was Google Sheet for 5 years. So it's mind blowing. So yeah, it's very, very normal thing to evolve the tech. Whenever you see the current tech has been a bottleneck, then figure out how to migrate it to a better technology. And that migration is something every company goes through. So it's a very, very natural and normal part of software engineering.
I'm very curious, Label team, have you heard of agile methodologies? What is your answer to them, Pavan?
No, I think Karthikeya nailed it, right? So first of all, you need to understand technology is built to be changed. Okay. So you don't want to build a technology which gets phased out within few months, right? It does not make sense. So it's obvious that you have to evolve it, whether it is 5 years, 50 years, it has to be evolving, but it's just about what is the pace of it. How fast you want to evolve is the question mark, right? So I think, as I already mentioned, I've already covered, it's also about the technology, a lot of areas, which is the buzzing one, right? So you need to be mindful about what technologies are coming up and how do you going to adapt to it and how open your current tech stack is. You don't want to build a closed tech stack which gets absolute within few months, right? So we have to be mindful about that and then bring the architecture based on that.
Okay, this is kind of like concerning because Label team, just check out, you are missing out a lot on not knowing what agile methodologies are. It is going to help you a lot. So check them out. And I could see like there are lots of small questions that's been asked elsewhere. So I'm going to do a rapid fire and both of you ready. I'll answer once and then you both go ahead and answer it in your own ways as well. Just one line, very quick. Okay, the first question is, how can I move into AI from scratch? Start with online courses, projects, gradually building some skills and expertise. You guys. Karthikeya.
Yeah, I would suggest the same. Pick a small, very, very small use case and solve it. And then iteratively learn more and more concepts.
Pavan?
So
It can be as
for
simple
me-
as, sorry, I'll just cover one point.
Yeah,
Right? It can be as simple as figuring out, showing your photograph and the software says that it's you. Maybe that's as simple use case as that. Start with that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Pawan.
think, as rightly said by Karthikeya, first figure out the use case and figure out what are the different tools available in the market. Not just go with something which you just heard, but also try to do your homework and find out what is the best solution available for that particular use case, and only then get into that so that you are at the edge of the game rather than just building on one of the topic which you just heard in some LinkedIn or something.
Great. Second question, strategies to face evolution technology and technology evolution, adapt new job openings. Okay, one thing that I would say is continuously upskill, learn, embrace lifelong learning and stay adaptable to new technologies. Karthikeya.
Yeah. 2 points. Identify what are the latest technologies. And then second one is practice. Code. There is no substitute to coding a lot.
Pavan?
I think Karthikeya nailed it, definitely that, but also understand what is going to be evolved going forward and try to be focused towards that and yeah, bring in all the feeds based on what are your interest in, and not just get diverted and get confused. What is my next thing to be, right?
Thank you.
Yep.
Question 3. What emerging technologies do you foresee coming prominent in the next few years, and how can individuals prepare to adapt these changes in their careers? This is the main thing about today's topic. Focus on AI, blockchain, quantum computing, learn through courses, workshops, and hands-on projects. Kartikeya.
No, I'll let Pawan go first for next 2 questions.
Sure. See, first of all, I need to understand where you are, right? I first, if at all I'm you, I would try to understand where exactly I'm standing right now, whether I have 5 years experience or I'm a fresher based on that. So if I would have been a fresher and I want to be more in a stable arena, then I would start with cloud computing for sure. Because that is something which is going to be there for a long time, whether it is AI, ML, NLP, LLP, you name it, cloud computing is the base, right? I would start there. But if you're someone who is already experienced, then I'm looking at web 2, web 3, and those areas, so that today or tomorrow it's going to be evolving. And yeah, eventually get a blockchain also under my hood.
Yeah, and just to complement Pawan's answer, I'm going to throw into data science into the mix. There is more and more data being created every single second, and we need better techniques and mechanisms to get the value out of it. So data science as well.
Controversial question. How to provide jobs to the unemployed using the AI? Explore AI-driven jobs, matching platforms, and retraining programs. These are something that people can do. Pawan.
No, as I said, right, I would say the cloud computing is the key, because even if you're using AI, it's faster for you to pick up things, understand things in cloud computing areas, and also how do you connect it. So if you're a fresher, go with cloud computing. But as and when you progress and evolve, I think go for other technologies.
Kartikeya.
Yeah, and there has been a lot of integration between robotics and AI to figure out, say, for a particular user who is not skilled in a certain field, still want to enter it, right? Let us take cooking, a simple example. I don't know how to cook, and the way I approach cooking, maybe if there is AI that is guiding me, this is how you need to evolve your. So there are ways where AI is helping people to adjust their skills for a basic to solve some problem. So I think there are new avenues as well going forward.
Amazing. And next question. How could I jump into a new technology with 11 plus years of experience? That's a great question. Leverage your existing experience and transferable skills. Take targeted courses and seek hands-on opportunities. Make sure you identify what exactly you are good at and then proceed further. Pawan?
No, I think it's a good question, right? I think even if I am also around the same level of experience, let's say, right? If I want to look at it, I think what Praveen said is already something which he has covered. But most important is understand what are your interests are, right? Because you have to be more sustainable. And if it's something which you want to explore now, without leveraging what you already have, I think it is not going to be sustainable. But try to also catch the emerging trends and see what is nearby to it, and not go for something it's a big jump. Let's say you're doing something in coding in ABAP and then you want to go to Java suddenly, then it's going to be a big gap. So try to identify which is more closer to what you're already working on, and then build on that.
Amazing. We'll go to one more last question. How can we implement AI to our project for automation and maximum self-reliance? Identify the AI use cases, integrate AI tools, and invest in training for the team members. These are the basic things that I would say. Kartikeya.
Yeah. So again, like Praveen said, pick up the use case and figure out what domain of AI is going to solve for it. Is it supervised, unsupervised? It's Gen AI, and then go deep into that. And
Pawan.
right now, the way the AI systems are, there are APIs available for you to do that. So please leverage the latest technologies and start small again.
Okay, for me, how I see it is try to bifurcate the use cases, right? So within your project, try to understand what are the different use cases and for which tools can be adopted and how they can talk to each other, so that you can automate the entire stack. So I think it's important that you understand latest trends, but also to understand how are they compatible to each other and how they can talk to each other. That is equally important.
Amazing. So we'll invite Candida again. So come and give something like how did it go and what do you think, Candida? How was it?
So yeah, it was a great session. For someone not from a tech background, I think it was pretty much a very informal session even for me. I got to learn a lot about, I think, few of the use cases itself. It goes in a broader sense, not just for developers itself, in sense of like, the career path, like how each technology inventions are there, like how you can implement it in your this thing, not just as a developer, but I think you can use these things for your career growth as well, which has been a really good insight for me as well. Amazing panel discussion we had here. I'm pretty sure after this session also, a lot of people who will be watching it later on, they will be having a lot of questions more. And I think this is a very broad topic which you can't cover it just with 1 hour or so. But then within 1 hour, the discussion which was there was very insightful, and really thankful for you guys for joining and imparting your knowledge here with us.
And tell me how many of you want part 2?
So yeah, it would be really nice to have a part 2 also. I would be really happy to create that. So yeah, amazing response also we got from the chat as well. Especially label team, we would love to see you guys also in our you can come over to Discord. Praveen is there, you can like connect with him also as a mentor, hopefully with a mentorship session also where you can go one-on-one with him. Abhimitra, Pawan, thank you so much for coming here and taking your time. We would love to see another session. So let me know if you guys are ready, and I'm pretty sure we can do another session also. Again, part 2 of this thing. But then yeah, before we end the session, I'll be sharing a link of a poll as a feedback. You can give your feedback on how the session went. This is for the audience. Do give your feedback. I would love to hear that from you. And before we end, like just one-liner advice that you would like to give to your audience, that would be really great.
Keep learning always, and please give your honest feedback so that we can incorporate in the part 2.
Yeah, one thing for me is be curious, right? It may be very cheesy, but I think it's very important that you be curious to learn something rather than forcibly learning something, right? So always be curious.
Yeah. And my end of advice would be just explore things. Whatever you see, just go try them out, see if that sparks an interest in you. You never know what's out there that you'll be a world expert in eventually. So
All right, guys. So yeah, we can end the session. Thank you so much. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
I usually say this, so stay home, stay safe, but stay healthy. See ya. Bye.
Yeah.
see you all.
Bye-bye.
Have a good weekend.
Wait, don't kick me out. Okay, so I just wanted to do a small check. So just let me do that very quickly. Those people who are still in, this is, can you enable the screen share once for me? Just once.
Okay.
Just want to do one small check. After that, we can close the session.
I'll make you the co-host, right?
Yeah, do whatever you want to do. Yes. Thank you. Let's see if that works. Yes, pretty much it works. So for those people who are looking at, please use the feedback form, finish it off. Thank you so much, and thanks for coming. Okay, check is done. Thank you. Done.
All right, bye.
Bye.